Mind Heist Podcast Episode 152, Boycotting TikTok, Double Standards in Ukraine and the Clash of Civilisations.
In this episode, we discuss the death reminder industry, why we're not on TikTok, how 10-second clips are changing our attention spans, as well as the double standards and racism used by commentators on Ukraine, and finally, the Clash of Civilisations theory.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Mind Heist, episode 152. What's the special occasion then, Muhammad?
So for our audio listeners, you can see that I'm dressed in a very traditional way.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's quite fancy. I think I got married in this outfit once.
Allahi barik. MashaAllah.
Only been married once. Anyway, we've been officially sponsored. Mind Heist is officially sponsored. I can't say it. That's how official it is. We've been sponsored by 4kweeks.com. You might have seen this before.
Okay, for the audio people, what we're seeing right now is a high quality poster. I'm just guessing it's high quality.
Oh, it is. No, absolutely.
Okay, high quality poster. And it's basically, what I'm understanding, Muhammad, from what I saw, is it's a visual representation of your life, and each week in your life is a dot. And it's showing you how much of your life is gone, basically.
Absolutely. So each box corresponds to 1 week in an average 88-year lifespan. And every field in box is one that you have already lived. So it's extremely effective in motivating you, in letting you know how much, on average, you have compared to other people, you know, on an average lifespan. And it allows you to then see, like, your life's ticking away. And we always speak about remembering death, don't we?
Yeah.
We always speak about the tradition of being conscious of death and conscious of time that we waste. Now, there's 3 products. There's this one, which is the 4K week poster. There's a 4K week poster that is a premium version, which is framed and you can hang it up.
Oh, got it.
And then the third one is my year countdown goal, similar to this, but it's on a yearly basis. You can start it at any year, set a goal for yourself, and then it'll go around in a circle. We're adding the links below into our description, and if you're watching on Instagram or anywhere really, you can put in code MindHeist. That's one word, MindHeist, for 5% off your order. Yeah. Now, the good thing about this poster, just to add, is that even if you forget your space, so like, let's say you forgot to put it in a few weeks, which I did, I had to catch up a few, there's a QR code at the bottom. So when you purchase it, you put in your date of birth. Yeah. And then that way it always knows how far since your purchase.
So every week you color in one dot.
Absolutely.
Basically.
So as you can see here, it's dated. I'm on the 28th on the side because I'm 28 years old. Yeah. And then I've gone up to the 31st week of me being 28 years old.
Okay.
So yeah, it's definitely, as you can see, I mean, imagine if I was to live for 88 years, hypothetically, which is generally the average of a modern day lifespan. Like, look how much of my life I've already lived.
Looks like 1/3 or something.
Absolutely. And that's not guaranteed. Obviously, we know that, I could die a lot sooner. Maybe I could die a little bit later.
Yeah.
But compared to the average, that's your comparison.
I mean, isn't there a hadith about most of my ummah will live till 60 or something like that?
Absolutely.
So for more motivation, they could make like a super motivation version where it's like 60 years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, just looking at that chunk on its own, and you could add to it, I suppose. It's free to draw on in a sense. You can add to it. And also what they do throw in there, which I got for free, was a wallpaper version for your phone. So it updates, it refreshes every week, and you can re-download it, refresh copy, and it will have it as your wallpaper.
I didn't tell you this, cool. But I've got something like that, but on, when I open a new tab on Chrome, I've got that basically.
Absolutely.
Like how many weeks left. So if you want to check this out, perhaps make a purchase, then the link is in the description of either YouTube or on the podcast thing. It'll be there, both of them, so you can check it out. And the code is MindHeist to get a little discount as well. And I think, if you're getting the lifetime one, it's like, if it even, this is I'm going to my sales pitch right now. If all it did was motivate you to do 5% more, it would be worth it.
Absolutely. And just to say, just to clarify, I bought this product way before they reached out to us. Yeah. I actually saw it advertised. I bought it quite a while ago because as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my God, that's an awesome idea. Purchased it. And I've been filling it in. I might not fill it in every week, but definitely when I catch up, I'm like, oh, actually, I need to fill that in. Let's see how much I've got. Yeah. And some people, they might not be their cup of tea facing that, head on. But for some other people, they might find it as a really big motivator.
I think, I've got it as a Chrome thing, but I feel like having a physical thing in the room might be cool,
Yeah, definitely.
I was listening to, this is a podcast. I don't know if you'll be into this podcast. It's quite businessy, but I'm enjoying it. Kaya told me about it. It's called My First Million. Okay. And they did an episode with Ryan Holiday. And of course, Ryan Holiday has those coins. You have that coin, right? Memento Mori coin, right? Remember death or whatever it is in Latin, right? Now, he talked about the specifics of that. And he was saying, look, I wanted to have a Stoicism business, right? But how are you going to make money off Stoicism? Like, it's kind of difficult. Like Stoics are supposed to be basically like Zuhair, right? Yeah, and now you're showing us that coin and the video version. Right, it's got the skull and everything. It looks a bit cliche, but yeah.
But the back's quite cool. It says, what does it say? Can you see that?
No, I can't read it.
You could leave life right now.
Okay, wow. Yeah.
I used to carry that with me a lot. My dangerous job.
Yeah.
I had that in my pocket all the time. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So he was saying he was thinking of a way to like monetize a Stoicism newsletter or whatever, right? Like he's got all these people signed up to get these, Stoicism related emails. And he's like, how are we going to do it? He's like, obviously most people go merch, right? T-shirts, mugs, this and that. He's like, first, that's tacky. Secondly, he's like, you know how much of a headache selling a T-shirt is? One T-shirt is not one product. One T-shirt is, okay, you got the white version, then you got the black version, that's 2. Then you've got 5 different sizes. So now it's 10 products. So one design is 10 products. Then you might have the ladies and the men's versions. Okay, so now it's 20 products. Yeah?
Wow.
Well, imagine all the inventory. I mean, me and you, we know about this. So he's like, I knew I didn't want to go down that. And also, it's not the biggest profit kind of thing as well. So he went for the coin thing for that reason. It's one product. It's truly one product. And also, the profit is good. And he actually revealed in that episode that he actually sells tens of thousands of these per year.
Absolutely.
And they go for like $30 a pop, I think. And he didn't say exactly, but it costs like sub $5 for him to buy it.
Absolutely. I think it's moderately priced as well. And I remember when I purchased this one, I can't remember if I got it with it, but I bought a silver one for a brother of ours, which was like the obstacle is the way, for example. And then I got that delivered to him and he really liked it. It's different. It's unique. It's quite heavy as well. It's not like a light piece of plastic. It's definitely like metal.
I was thinking it would be nice to have that, but with a little hole to connect to your keys.
Possibly, yeah.
That would
absolutely.
be more suitable. I read recently actually that Umar ibn Khattab, he used to have on his ring, it used to say, "Kafa bil mauti maw'ida," right? Death is enough of a reminder.
Absolutely.
Right, not reminder, or like, maybe like advice or something like that. Yeah. So
it's about putting those things in the way of your daily life to remind you, I suppose, definitely. Because I remember when I first started practicing and coming across really the reality of death in such detail. I had it as a wallpaper. I had something like that as a wallpaper that I put together quickly and just kept it as that forever. So I think, like I said, this idea, I really like it. I remember there was a bit of pushback when I first bought it because some people were like, oh, no, I wouldn't want to have that. That's going to be too much pressure, etc. But for a lot of people, they'll take that pressure in a positive way and allow it to remind them, no doubt.
I mean, I feel like you can't say that, like it's too much pressure because it's just real. Like, it's just reality.
Yeah.
And like the Prophet ﷺ, he actually told us, like, remember death and... even like you'll get weak and you'll be like the scum of the sea. Why? Because of wahan, and wahan is, hating death. So it makes sense.
Something's beeping in my house and I don't know what it is. Give me 2 seconds. I think I figured it out. I need to go and grab it.
Okay. Yeah, bro. So
it was a drone. It was a remote control for the drone. It was running out of battery. That's what it was.
Okay. I remember when you got that drone, and have you used it much?
No, I haven't used it since. No, probably not since that video. It wasn't for me. It was for my kids. But I'll get it. I'll get it going. It wasn't very practical to charge You didn't like the drone?
No. It saddens me when people buy stuff and they don't use it.
It was a gift, to be fair, but we need to. It's not like you can just get batteries for it. You have to charge it and
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff.
That's why I'm like very particular with what I buy, and it's become a problem in my life. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I will spend hours buying a simple thing.
Sometimes there's too much choice, though.
Bro, one thing I wanted to talk about. I don't know how long we could talk about this for, but you know, this whole TikTok discussion. It was a very quick discussion we had, where it's like I made a TikTok account for Mind Heist, and I posted 3 clips there.
Whoa.
And then I was like,
how could you do this?
And then I was like, actually, I'm not into this. Like, TikTok is not a place that I want to feed, you know. So, and you said you agreed with me, right?
So I made a TikTok account once when it kind of first came about, and then I posted one video on there, and then I lost access to my account. And no matter what I do, I can't really track down. Whoa, what is this? That music coming through? Was that music coming through my computer just now? Because that was me. Okay, well, that was me going onto TikTok on the computer just
and
now.
It just auto plays.
Look up, yeah, that's the problem. I don't know if that came through, guys. Apologies if it did. But I opened up TikTok on the browser just to search Mind Heist to see, what we'd done. Straight away, they're blasting videos at me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I'm guessing someone was dancing in the video.
Well, it was some woman wearing hijab and loads of music playing. So how do they know? How has the algorithm tracked me down already? I don't have an account, so there you go. They must have saw how I was dressed. My webcam scanned me and said, "Boom, there you go." No, yeah, that's part of the problem. There we go. So we've actually just identified the problem.
Experienced it.
Yeah, right there, live, where you don't know, you can't control at all what's going to be blasted in your face. And the thing is, like, I'm sure you saw it when you made a TikTok account, is like the algorithm is completely, what's the word? It's untouched by yourself. They have no data on you. So they're just going to chuck to you the stuff that everybody would like to see.
Yeah, the generally popular stuff, yeah.
Which isn't what we want to see, is it? However, on the flip side of that, to play devil's advocate,
yeah,
every new development that's ever come, there's always been a generation that says, no, we're not going to go any further than this. Like, we're going to draw the line here, right?
Yeah.
From radio to TV, from TV to, I don't know, digital, from social media to this kind of social media, this 10-second social media. So maybe this is it for us. Maybe from here on out, you won't see TikToks, you won't see Mind Heist Metaverse, you won't see anything future. We're going to stay stagnant in the past.
Maybe. I mean, my main reason is, I talked about this before. Like, what's the guy's name that wrote the book called
That guy.
Thinking Us to Death, right? Entertaining Ourselves to Death, or what's it called? Anyway, Neil Postman, that's the guy, yeah. So in that book, Whatever Ourselves to Death, can't remember what it's called. He says that the medium through which we consume content, it's not neutral.
Okay.
Yeah. So by the fact that you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook or you're face to face or you're on a stage, it will influence what is being said in the content, right? The actual the substance of what you're putting in it will be influenced by the medium, and I think we know that for sure, right? Like the fact that you've got 60-second TikTok, or the fact that you've got YouTube, unlimited length, but there are all these related videos coming up, and there are ads. It's going to influence, right? So we know that. Everyone knows that, like, just by feeling and sensing and logic. So where does Instagram lean towards? Where does Facebook lean toward? Where does it kind of nudge you towards? TikTok, for me, is like very black and white clear. It nudges you towards music. It nudges you towards, dancing, lewdness, fahisha, basically. And so it's so black and white in that category for me that I don't want to play a part, like, whatsoever.
Do you think though? So when I've made a new Instagram account, it's not that different. It doesn't feel like it's that different, and especially now that, like, this disease of TikTok 10-second attention span has now spread to everything else. You've got Reels on Instagram, you've got Shorts on YouTube. I'm sure you've got similar things on other platforms. Yeah. I know Facebook has integrated it. I know I haven't used Snapchat in many years, but I'm sure Snapchat is just the same, you know. So what has that got to say about people's attention spans generally? I know Twitter tried to do something like that. They had something called Moments, and then they got rid of it. They backpedaled. But it's all about, one could argue, it's all about creating your algorithm. It's all about, you know, letting them know what kind of content you want to see.
Yeah, but again, it goes back to, what does the medium inherently force people to do?
Yeah, true.
Right?
True.
And I just don't think it's positive. And it's like TikTok, I think they acquired the company called Musical.ly. And that's where the heavy music influence came in. Yeah, that's
what it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, right? Yeah. It was Musical.ly before. So it's
like a karaoke thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that. So it's just too heavy in that direction. And you're right, bro. Maybe Instagram is kind of the same. It's just that I haven't used Instagram for like 7 years.
Yeah. The difference with Instagram, and just to give it a judge at the moment, is that you've still got the options. You've still got the option to just go through your normal feed, as you would.
Yeah.
But then you've got
I guess it's the explore section which kills you, right?
So there's the explore section, which you can avoid.
Yeah.
But then you've got this, and forgive me, whatever pops up.
Oh, and that's right in the middle.
If I click that, boom, it just turns into almost like TikTok.
So the middle button, like the most prominent button, is to take you to Reels.
Yeah, there you go. And it's just like TikTok.
And these are not people you follow. These are just...
No, this is just... Look, it's giving me follow options for all of them.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I don't know if people I follow actually post any Reels.
Yeah.
I know that we post Reels on Instagram. Yeah. And that is why, generally speaking, our numbers, you know, like some of our Reels have had 7,500 plays, you know, and that's because it's auto showing for people that are just scrolling through, which means people are scrolling through, which means there's numbers there, because that's for an account of ours. On mine house, we've got about 1,200 followers, but we're hitting 7,500 views on a reel. Sorry, that just shows that. Imagine if you had 1 million followers, well then you're going to get millions of views on a reel, and it's something. It speaks about our, you know, human condition with our attention span and stuff. You know, yesterday I sent you an article, right? Which I haven't read it yet, to be honest, which that goes to show. But it was an article by Cage. And if anyone knows who Cage are, they're the NGO that supports oppressed Muslims. And they're an independent advocacy organization empowering Muslims across the world who have been impacted by the war on terror. I kind of half read that, and I kind of half came up with that. But they put out a report where they've essentially concluded that through a series of investigations, that the French government is inherently and systematically and institutionally Islamophobic to its population, right? And that I'm gonna just try and find it, but here we go. That article is like, I think 54 pages long, maybe less. They had a summary. They've got a summary, funnily enough, and then they've got the actual article as well. And it's actually in French and in English. Now, it's obviously a very important article, very big one to read and stuff. But then I had the thought when I looked at that, I was like, I really want to read this. But do people who should and need to know this gonna have the attention span to read through, you know, a PDF that's this long? Yeah. And it makes me think about how many books I've picked up and never finished. 48 pages it is. Makes me think of how many books I've picked up and never finished. Makes me think of like documentaries or YouTube videos in general. You know, unless it's in podcast form. You know, I'm listening to that Trojan Horse podcast at the moment, which is in eight parts. I started listening to that ages ago, and I'm still not done. You know, part of that maybe is lack of concentration. Part of that maybe, I just feel like in the past we had a longer attention span, definitely.
Yeah, but I don't actually think we have a short attention span, therefore TikToks were made. I think it's the other way around. You
think that kind of content has adapted us to it?
Yeah, it's made our attention spans shorter.
Yeah. I think it's like that dopamine thing, isn't it? I think psychologically we're getting a hit of dopamine every time something interesting happens.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you get that dip, I think they've identified after 10 seconds, it kind of dips. Oh, give you something else. Now, I did read an article yesterday that said that I think they're upping the limit to 10 minutes.
Yes, you know? I read that.
And if they're doing that, then they're kind of going after YouTube in a way, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
For like long form videos.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. Like, that's why I lean more towards podcast and YouTube. These are like two places I like. Longer form. Of course, it can have shorter, but It's like a short video on YouTube is 5 minutes, for example, but a short video on TikTok is 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's a whole
absolutely.
different kind of thing.
And it's even the way that they obviously edit their videos, the way that they try and give you that information. And also, I came across a video talking about TikTok from another podcast. I don't even know who it is. I don't know if you've come across it, but it was this gentleman talking about how like the algorithm in China is different to the algorithm in America.
Oh,
And he says that because it's created by China, they kind of pump a positive algorithm, which will show like kids doing really cool things like engineering or like hacks or life hacks or all this sort of positive stuff. And then they said that they've adapted the American algorithm, like China has apparently deliberately adapted the American algorithm so that everyone in America just sees kids doing stupid stuff, dancing and twerking and doing stupid stunts and hurting themselves. And you're kind of like polluting the society from within. Absolutely. Kind of makes sense.
Welcome to 2022 warfare.
Yeah,
warfare via dances.
But it does. You know what though? At the same time, I think that traditional cultures across the world don't necessarily celebrate stupidity like that.
Yeah.
And I remember coming across a video of one of my like village Facebook pages in Tunisia, right? And they posted a video of like the capital, and there was these two girls doing something stupid, similar to what they would do in the UK or America. And all the comments were just ripping into them for having no shame and having no this and having no that. But I know that like if that was a normal Western video, America, England, whatever, the comments would just be like laughing or like taking part in that or whatever it is. So it did make me think, traditional values maybe has the influence on the algorithm as opposed to anything else,
Yeah, I think, around the world, we're all at different stages of getting to that point where it's like anything more than 3 seconds, I can't focus on it, right? And I just think we're in this world, but it doesn't mean we have to dive in fully, We don't have to dive in fully. So, like, for example, the way I raise my son, like, specifically, like, trying to explain it to my wife, like, I don't want my son to realize that on a phone you can touch any point of it and it's like very interactive. So when you touch it one way, like swipe it, it will swipe, like it will move. Yeah, I don't want him to realize that because from my understanding, that's the most addictive part of a phone, is how tactile it is or how much feedback you get. It's very direct feedback that when I do this, it does that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that, and I think I got that from the book called The Shallows, right? It's a very good book about this topic, about attention spans and this and that. So, like that kind of stuff, myself as well, for example, or me and you, like we don't have TikTok accounts. So that's a way you can protect yourself. Taking time away from your phone to like read and do things that demand a bit more longer concentration. Like it's a battle, no doubt, but it's something we can try at. Those people in whatever, like rural Tunisia, like what you're saying, those people were probably better off than us in this regard, but they're also under attack. And
absolutely,
and they might not be aware that they're under attack as much as we are, maybe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So like my perception of like North Africa, or my perception of back home, is very 20 years ago. It's a very 20 years ago, this is what it was like thing, because that's when I kind of lived there, long term. Now, even today, bro, me and my wife were like putting in the hashtag of our local sort of village in Tunisia on Instagram just to see what the populace kind of post and what they're about, right? And bro, it was just as bad as it is in the UK.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, this is a platform that is spawned in the West, and it's going to promote those kind of things, and it's going to normalize it for the kids that are, some of the people that were posting this stuff were like 15, 16, these are this generation of kids over there. So they're going to see all this stuff online. One of the kids was like, I don't know, he was like this big, very, very young. He's got his own his own Instagram account, and I'm sure it's managed by his parents. But I went through who that person was following. There's all these celebrities that are very current in the UK and America, right? You had like
Jake Paul,
I would say all these very current, people. So in my head, I thought it was going to be very Arab-centric, very North African-centric, but actually it was just similar to the West,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, Muhammad, who was on the episode with me, episode 146, who's in Egypt, he told me just a few days ago, he's like, yeah, you know what? Like, the generation gap is massive here. He's like, those people in a village in Egypt, not just Egypt, right? In a village in Egypt, he's like, they're not hardly too much different from people that are 15, 16 in the UK.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess it's because they're consuming the same stuff, which has an influence, you know?
We spoke about this before, didn't we? Where the technological leap between having 0 to having 3G phones was such a quick jump, because I remember going to Tunisia and having my desktop there. There's no way I could get internet in the house. Absolutely no way could I get, broadband in the house. So for years and years and years, the only people that would have access to internet really are people that went into those internet cafes. But even then, it was just the enthusiasts. It wasn't me, the general person, to get it in there.
And you have to pay per hour and all of that.
Absolutely. And then it was around, I don't know, I'm going to say 2012, around that time, maybe a bit further, 3G hit life, and then suddenly they just fast forwarded straight to 3G, and everyone had internet on their phones all of a sudden. And then obviously social media spawned at the same time. So we had a bit of prep, like we had MySpace, we had Bebo, we had Habbo Hotel, we had Club Penguin, we had all these like things. We had internet in the house in terms of computers, and we slowly kind of adapted. So I grew up with internet, and then it was in my pocket. These guys didn't grow up with internet. The parents didn't grow up with internet, and then boom, out of nowhere, boom, everybody's phone has now got internet on it, and they can access everything, and they can access everything in private, and they can do all sorts. So it's I can imagine, huge generational jump.
Yeah. And that's why it's interesting, like Facebook is trying to, get internet access all over the place. If there's any square inch that doesn't have internet access, they're doing those drones and those air balloons or whatever that deliver internet to that region.
Isn't it yourself who said, there's a lot of countries that they don't know what the internet is. They just have Facebook. Like, Facebook is internet for them.
Yeah, so that's the plan, right? That's Facebook's thing.
For a lot of countries, there is no internet. There's no search bar. There's no Google. There's no nothing. There's just Facebook. You click Facebook, you're in the internet, and you search through Facebook.
Yeah.
You get your news through Facebook. You do your shopping through Facebook. You do everything through it. So, in one way, it's an internet within an internet, isn't it? So
yeah, kind of like in China, they've got a WeChat, which is a super app
ecosystem.
Yeah, so. It's crazy, but out of everything, I like YouTube, man.
Big fan.
Yeah.
That's because you're a YouTube old timer, bro. You're a veteran.
This is the other thing. I'm not thinking like I'm in the process of getting back in the game. And I feel like, from, spending time on YouTube and being an observer that tries to see the details and see what people are doing. Inshallah, I'll come back in a better way. So that's the plan, and it's fun. Like, so far, like, I'm trying to just make some videos and not publish them yet, just like make videos. And it's, one thing that's been a big game changer for me is having like the software that we use, right? That makes it so much easier. But also my computer's like way more capable. So like editing is fun, actually. Like when I used to edit before, I never did too much heavy editing, but it was just like slow. And I thought that's just how it is. But now I realize when your computer is fast enough, it's actually the computer gets out your way and you can just do whatever you want to do. So, so I'm editing. My plan is to like edit videos. And instead of what I used to do with Sierra Masters, my channel, I used to pretty much make videos that I wanted to make, or make videos that I wanted to make, or that, pretty much just what I wanted to make, what I thought should be out there, right? What I thought people should be watching. Now my approach is going to be more like, okay, I want to like focus on this type of person. What questions do they have? What do they want to know? What are their struggles? And make those kind of videos targeting specifically those issues that they're interested in. So that's one difference. The other difference will be the editing. And eventually I'm sure like I'll get an editor to just smooth it out, because it does kind of become a full-time job. But yeah, I'm learning. I actually bought a couple courses on like how to grow on YouTube and stuff like that. So it'll be an interesting, how do you say it, pursuit.
I like that. Serum Masters is back, baby. Is it still going to be Serum Masters?
Well, actually, I changed the channel a while ago, like the channel name. It became like Amin Omar, right? My name plus Serum Masters, like hyphen Serum Masters. But I'm not seeing any reason to have Serum Masters name, unfortunately, even though it's a cool name. But I just think I go with the personal brand kind of thing. So
awesome.
Yeah.
No, inshallah khair. May Allah grant you success in it, and also keep you away from any negativity that can be with it. I mean, we the scene has changed a lot since like at least me and you were doing stuff. Yeah. So I mean, last night for the first time in a long time, I listened to a debate. I think Michaela Peterson, Jordan Peterson's daughter, put up a debate. I don't know. It wasn't really a debate, was it? It was just more of a back and forth between Ayan Hirsi and Muhammad Hijab. And I have my own opinions on it. I can't be bothered to share it. What my opinions are. I think there's enough opinions out there. But I haven't really consumed any of that content in a long time. I didn't actually watch it. I just had it on while I was in bed, just listening to it, and I fast forwarded her parts because I just after a few parts of just listening to what she was saying, I just thought I can't be bothered with this. But it was quite a good format because the same questions that Michaela would ask Ayan, she would ask Muhammad. So it was like, well, I know what she's asked her, so I don't need to.
What I understand is they couldn't hear each other.
Yeah, that's what. Definitely. There's no way that they could have heard each other.
Yeah, so they were like debating via a third party kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'm not going to get into my opinions at all. But anyway.
But the other reason I'm going to try this YouTube thing is because even business-wise, a lot of people, basically like the marketing, the online marketing world has changed in the last, I want to say even just in the last year or two. Basically, in the last, let's say 5 years, Facebook ads were so sick. Facebook ads were everything, right? And that's like where most of my kind of expertise was built around Facebook ads, okay? Now, this year, let's say a year ago, Apple released the update which stopped Facebook being able to track people. And that kind of destroyed Facebook ads. I'm still like spending money on Facebook ads and stuff, but before like about a year ago, we were talking about, okay, we need to find ways to spend, because that's the way we talk as marketers, right? It's like, okay, if we're spending £1 and we're making £2, £3, £4, then the goal is spend as much as possible, right?
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, how can we spend 10K, 15K, 20K a month on ads, right? But now it's like, okay, how do we survive without ads? Like, how do we just avoid having to use ads? And that's where having a YouTube channel with that search element to it, where new viewers can actually find it. Like Instagram, your reel is dead in a day or whatever, right? But YouTube sometimes a year later, 2 years later, your video will be living on and bringing you new audience. So I feel like a YouTube channel is an asset in that way. And even, people that I learn from, they're actually spending more like energy on building YouTube. And you don't want to keep your audience on YouTube, obviously. You want to like bring it off it to your mailing list or whatever it is. But yeah, even business wise, it seems like ads, who knows what the future of ads is, bro? Like even the other big ads player is Google, and even Google said, we're going to kind of stop tracking on our own accord, like voluntarily. We're going to kind of turn off tracking in a year. So I feel like we've got a year to make the most of this, and then, but I don't know why Google would do that, because it would destroy their whole, like 98% of their revenue or whatever comes from ads. So I don't know what the plan is for them, but
I think like I've always considered that ads that are, your very basic Facebook ads, banner ads, that kind of thing that you'd have to click on, I've always considered them as traps for people that aren't very internet or tech savvy, right? So for the average person, because like if you go on Google, I had this experiment the other day. I was at work, and I was we're doing like a meeting, and I said to the person, look, if you search this in this particular website, you'll find the page that we're looking for. You know, let's just be vague about it. They searched it and they were like, I can't find it. It's just saying this, this, and this, and this. And I was like, no, you need to scroll down. The first 4 results are always ads.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because they didn't have that literacy to know that you never go and click the first 4 things on the search bar. You always scroll down and go to the thing you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
So I've always, since the inception of the internet, I've always had this kind of aversion to ads, because I know what I don't want to click on and what I'm looking for. Even like visually, you can kind of see where the ad is. You know, if I want to unsubscribe from a marketing email, well, I know it's hidden somewhere at the bottom and it's not going to be overt. So I need to look for that. Stuff like that. So I could probably count, the number of times I've ever clicked on one of those traditional ads or like on my fingers, like right now. I know that. But the other stuff that I might have clicked on is like, as you've said, things have changed. Like, what is it? Like, that when you're going through a reel or you're going through some sort of video or something, and then the next one that comes along is an ad, right? But sometimes it's an ad for something you're interested in. I'm pretty sure that's how I actually came across 4K Weeks, right? Because they must have known that I'm into that kind of stuff. And it worked. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to grab this. I actually want this.
Yeah.
I had money at the time, etc.
This is the thing, yeah. This is what frustrates me. Facebook ads was sick. Why? Because it was good at targeting the right people for the right product. And it's like people were told by whatever the lawmakers or whatever it was, or even competitors to Facebook. Like, for example, Apple, like a few years ago, Apple started making privacy this whole big thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like they sold privacy to the world rather than the world being that concerned about it already. And so then people are like, I don't want to be tracked. I don't want to be tracked. I don't want to be tracked, right? Which in a way makes sense. But it's like, now that you're not being tracked, you're going to get, the ads are going to start to become completely irrelevant to you.
Yeah.
And and then it's going to be like a waste of your time. Rather than you discovering products you might be interested in, you're now going to see, like, remember, like 2002, it was like you get these dodgy ads for who knows what, right? Not relevant to you at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I've when it comes up, whenever you get a new app or you get a new whatever, it comes up on the phone, on the iPhone, to request, it's a request. Do you want to allow tracking? Do you not?
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, a lot of the time I just allow it because I know for that reason I'm going to get ads either way.
See,
right?
You're smart, bro.
But truly, I'm going to get ads either way. It's not like me saying no is going to stop the ads.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
they're going to just show me stuff that I don't care about.
Yeah.
It's going to be even more of a waste of time.
Yes.
But sometimes there are promotions. There are like deals, there are all sorts of things that I actually am interested in.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie about that. That's the truth.
Yeah.
It's part of the internet. It's just part of the way we run things.
Yeah.
I have ad blocker on my desktop. I certainly don't have it on my phone and stuff. And that's where they're going to get me, because you can't really practically get an ad blocker on your phone. But yeah, absolutely, man. It is an interesting world of advertising. It must be interesting for you in the marketing scene to see that as a bit of a thing to navigate.
Yeah. So advertising, might change forever. And another trend I actually heard about is that people are actually moving. I mean, maybe it's early days of this trend, but people are moving away from the open social networks like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and moving to more private ones like Discord, right?
Yeah, Telegram channels. And,
where it's like, look, I don't have to hear the rubbish out in the world. It's like, okay, it's me and 20 other people. We're on the similar wavelength. We're just going to like hang out, socialize, and share memes and stuff in this private thing, right?
Yeah.
It's still social media, you could say, but it's not like what we traditionally call social media.
It's kind of what social media started as. Facebook itself was a closed platform for university students and whatever. Other social media platforms were very much based on shared interests, so like forums and stuff. I know I was definitely on forums at like 12, 13 years old for like Nintendo stuff, and I had an account and I used to chat to people and we used to share like cheat codes and God knows whatever else. And then, I've mentioned this before, when it started opening up and there was this kind of expectancy to be yourself and not hide behind a persona, it changed things. And then you started applying social credit to people. So how many followers has that person got? Oh, Bethany in year 7 has 10,000 followers. She's so popular. Look at the life she lives. Oh, she went to France last year and she went on the Alps. All this sort of stuff. But like back when I was like Falco505, which was my name, and I still have that email address, bro. I just had some like video game or cartoon character as my profile picture. Nobody would ever know who I was and whatever, and it was a closed sort of experience.
And if you were going to flex, you'd flex with your like armor or sword or whatever.
Something like that, bro. Yeah, absolutely. But that was a good life, man. That was a good times, bro. No social credit there. You were into what you were into, and nobody needed to know.
But I am a fan of more, you could say, human scale networks.
It does. Right? It does depend. Yeah, like the LinkedIn thing we were talking about last week. I started a LinkedIn account for the first time properly. Like sat down and filled it out and put all the info in it. And I was like, "Yo, this is actually really cool." Like everybody here is they're professional. They're trying to be professional, and they're using it in a professional manner. They're not going to post anything that's going to like wreck their reputation, because it just destroys any job prospects or what people will think about them, or and I think having that living, breathing curriculum vitae, so to speak, that CV, is an awesome sort of thing. You've got a platform with a mission there. Do you know what I mean? With an actual goal, and it's been around for a long time. I know Instagram started with a goal. It was originally for photographers to post pictures, high quality pictures of the stuff but it's evolved into this beast, hasn't it?
Crazy.
Do you remember that? Do you remember those days when it was, the icon was very clearly about, film photography and stuff like that?
I feel like I came to it a little bit after that time.
Maybe, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
I definitely, I remember like getting it in maybe 2011, 2012, that kind of thing.
I remember like it being more focused on the picture being a good picture.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I remember that, but now, what is it even now? Like, I guess there's a mixture, right?
Yeah, they're obviously moving way more to. I remember when you couldn't even post video, bro. There was no video on Instagram. It was pure picture. And yeah, even then it was like with the filter system and all this sort of stuff and these little tools to adjust your photo. It was all about the landscapes, the scenery, the things you could take photos of, the places you've been. And then it kind of became, very self-centered, just like everything else.
Let me tell you some other trend, right? Because I guess I listen to a lot of like tech podcasts, tech and business podcasts. So one thing a few people were talking about is, I think it might be that crypto just got the biggest boost it may ever get. And that's in the form of the Canadian government freezing people's bank accounts because they were even just donating to that protest.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And the other thing is all the sanctions on Russia. So these two things may accelerate people looking into crypto. Like, how can I be unfreezable? How can I have money that's unfreezable, unaccessible by authorities or foreign governments or blah, blah, blah. Like, that might be a turning point. Because on a national level now, Russia's like, I don't know what they're like, but let's say they're like, well, damn, let's look into this crypto thing because they've frozen us out of the system. They got this, they got that. Even apparently, right, they have very good foreign currency reserves, Russia, which makes them a bit more resilient to any sanctions and this and that. And they can afford to stay in a war economy for longer and blah, blah, blah. But like half of their money is in dollars and euros, which apparently that is kind of seizable or freezable by the country.
Well, that's what happened in Afghanistan, wasn't it? They seized all of their dollars. So all of their money was in dollars, and it just went boom.
Yeah,
they've released a little bit of it, but definitely not all of it. And a lot of it was going to 9/11 victims, which are completely unrelated. But that's another story for another day.
Wow.
So yeah, and I think I know that Russia came out and said they're exploring digital currency amidst all of this that's going on. They said they're exploring it.
Oh, is it? Yeah, they said that recently.
Yeah, they said that they're recently exploring it. I remember seeing that on the investing.com headline. Yeah, man, it is kind of scary. And I think, although these two incidents that you've mentioned are, recent incidents, I think this fear has been something that's been building for a lot of people. your money is not your money, and they can just cut you off from it if they don't like you. If you're not, they're not a fan of you for any reason, that's it. You're screwed. I think what's really upsetting is like we all know that the Russian people aren't all one-track minded and all supporting this war, for example. But then they all have to suffer the consequences. Like Apple and other sort of payment providers and all sorts of stuff just stopped any services.
They switched off Apple Pay in Russia, yeah.
Switched off all of that stuff. They switched off, if they're going to do all of this stuff to their money, well, that's it. They can't spend, they can't buy, they can't sell. Everyone suffers, man. Innocent people really suffer, and I know people.
But I'll tell you what's interesting, bro.
Yeah? But yeah.
I'll tell you what's interesting. So, like this whole, the boycott Israel movement, for example, yeah?
Yep.
What's it called again? Divest something, blah, blah, right? Whatever, yeah? Boycotting Israel. Now, some people, they criticize that and they say, well, the average Israeli doesn't agree with this and that, and they're going to suffer, yeah? But we can see that when it comes to punishing Russia or the Russian government or whatever, like everyone's completely cool with that, like with the collateral damage of what Russians are going to face,
Yeah.
And it's kind of like how do sanctions work? Sanctions work. You put so much pressure on the people that the people stop the government from what they're doing, right?
Yeah, possibly.
That is a big function of it. Like the government starts feeling like, well, I'm cool. I'm like multi-billionaire, right? I've got all these gas reserves and this and that, right? I'm cool money-wise, yeah? Okay, my assets here and there got frozen, but I've got like a stack of gold in my basement, Like I'm cool. So it's not the government that might suffer that much. It's more the average people are suffering so much that they're going to put pressure on the government.
No
so
doubt.
The whole point of sanctions or boycotting or this and that, in a way, is to pressure average people.
To shift it to average people. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember since I got this car, I've been listening to LBC, which I didn't used to have on my old car. And it's...
What's LBC?
LBC is like Leading Britain's Conversation. So it's like a radio show, but it's very much dominated by the public opinion. So they'll have a question. They'll obviously have presenters and people they interview, but they rely heavily on people calling up and giving their own opinion on things.
Okay.
And when this kind of started, I started listening because I was on a long drive. And a lot of people were talking about this, about how, to defeat Putin, we're going to need to influence the public and influence people around him. And that's the only way we're going to get rid of him without having to start a world war. And surely we can influence somebody next to him by literally, bro, they're just talking about dictator politics. They're just saying surely we can buy out one of his close allies to backstab him or assassinate him or whatever. Isn't that what we've been doing all these years? And obviously, part of that is inciting and fueling uprisings by the people that are on the ground, right? But yeah, subhanAllah, I think, and I was, I kind of wanted to talk about this for the whole podcast, but I knew it would have taken a lot of time. But just of the double standards, the hypocrisy, all the stuff that's coming out of that kind of reporting, it's surreal how a crisis, a European crisis, let's call it, and obviously we sympathise with any innocent people getting killed or getting made victims, getting made homeless, dying, whatever. But the hypocrisy in the reporting is absolutely incredible. And I don't know, obviously, how much you follow this kind of stuff. But, bro, there's threads and threads and threads online that people have made of just different reportings, different people, just how they're basically focusing on the fact and the phenomenon that this is a European problem. And therefore, this shouldn't be happening. Because if it was happening in the Middle East, if it was happening in Africa, that would be normal and let's not bat an eyelid. But because, and quite frankly, some people were saying blue-eyed, blonde-haired people are dying, then it's a problem. So, it reminded me of what you mentioned earlier about the sanctions in Israel and stuff. Nobody's comfortable doing sanctions there because you're, as you said, an argument that they're saying, is harming innocent people and they've got to carry on and this and that. And the government isn't the same as the Israeli people, etc. But then when it comes to anyone that, the West agrees is the enemy, well, yeah, everyone can suffer, of course. That's not a problem. But it is insane. This whole since this started, that I've never felt so infuriated with the media as I do now. Even this is way before the Islamophobic rhetoric and this person's a terrorist and this person's that, because that was only one side of the Islamophobic coin, right? One side of the coin was calling Muslim terrorists. The other side of the coin was calling the people that are doing the same thing as those Muslims as freedom fighters and heroes and So this is where the picture completes. Subhanallah. But have you seen anything like that? Do you have any thoughts on that kind of thing that's going on? I don't even know if you've seen it.
I've heard plenty about it, and I saw a few things here and there. I just don't care, bro. Like in my mind, like in my mind, I don't expect any better, so it doesn't shock me. And it's like, I just don't expect any better. Like they see themselves, okay. I believe like this is how humans have been throughout history, right? We humans always define themselves as a people, right? So us as Muslims, we might say, I'm a Muslim and therefore I'm part of the Ummah. My people are Muslims, right? Other people, they might say, well, Arabs are my people, right? Or whatever it is. So these people, that, for example, like white English people, they say, my people are English white people, or my people are white people. My people are European people that are white and that are atheist leaning, or whatever it is. So it's all a little bit of, basically, I'm not tricked by the propaganda, the Western propaganda that they believe in human rights, they believe in freedom, and they believe that everyone's equal, and they're not racist anymore, they're not colonizers anymore, they're not slave. I just don't buy it for 1 second. So when they treat Ukrainians different to Yemenis, like it's completely like, well, of course they're on a different team. They don't consider Yemenis to be part of the same group of people as them, even at just the level of humanity. And again, you could say, well, that's the evil people, that's the people at the top. But no, it is in, like I said, everybody has a definition of who my people are, right?
Absolutely.
And I believe that even the average so-and-so, they believe their people are like atheist or Christian white people that look a certain way and that believe in certain values. That's what they see as their people, and they don't believe in equality. They don't believe in human rights fundamentally. At fundamental level, they don't believe in human rights. So
no, of course,
it doesn't shock me at all.
So I don't know if you can see. Can you see my screen? Have I shared that?
Yes, but let me put it for everyone else to see. Okay.
So I'm going to just show a selection. This is just a selection of a few things. Now, the reason why things like this annoy me isn't because of necessarily. It's not because.
Whoa! What am I seeing?
Can you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is just one tweet of obviously some verified guy, and if you were to look at some of these people's, what's the word? Some of these people's sort of, I don't know what you want to call it, their accolades and what their jobs are and stuff, you'd be absolutely mesmerized. This guy specifically. Oh no, there was another guy that said, I don't know if it's part of this, but there's another guy that said, I'm racking my brain for a historical parallel to the courage and fighting spirit of the Ukrainians and coming up empty. How many people have ever stood their ground against an aggressor like this? It's legendary. And this guy who said this is Paul Massaro, who's a counter-corruption advisor to Congress, and he's got accolades in dictatorship, sanctions, illicit finance, and all about Europe, Russia, China, Eurasia, human rights, democracy, and rule of law. All of that is in his bio, but he can't think of a time where something like this has ever happened. It boggles my mind. But just to go back, and let me skip to so this one that we're looking at on the screen, it says, it just occurred to me that this is the first major war between civilized nations in my lifetime. Crikey. What's the next one say? I've got a collection of 4 here. The next one says, now the unthinkable has happened to them. And this is not a developing third world nation. This is Europe. They can't believe it. A lot of these are from videos.
But 1 second,
like,
bro, yeah.
Points. Go on.
Look, yeah, I don't know about Ukraine too tough, yeah, but Ukraine is not that developed as far as I understand. Like, just because they're white and the people and they might be considered in Europe, like, come on, man. Like, even look at even like, it depends how you define civilized, or, obviously it's their definition and stuff. But like even Greece, right? Greece is part of the EU and everything. I believe it's part of NATO. But Greece is like very different to somewhere like Germany, France, England. The culture's different. No one pays their taxes. It's less organized. So,
I mean, this is one of the worst ones. We'll end it on this example, but this was from the BBC, where the bloke being interviewed saying, "It is very emotional for me. I see European people with blonde hair, blue eyes, children being killed." This is the rhetoric, Akhi, that was just coming up again and again and again. I'll just stop sharing that for now. Yeah. And the reason, my anger and frustration, this is where it sits. Okay, it sits in a place where, if you're living in this country as a Muslim, and your intention is to be here forever, then somewhere down there you're going to have a long-term plan or a long-term ambition to making this place more friendly to live here, more comfortable to live here as a Muslim, as a practicing Muslim, to have your freedoms, to have your rights,
for your
to have your
people,
children, for your people, right?
Yeah.
But the moment a crisis happens, well, all of that is out of the window. Actually, there's videos of black people, of I'm sure Muslim people all around the world, Moroccans, Tunisians, whatever, who are in Ukraine, getting shoved at the back of the queue, getting stopped to get on trains, last people to leave. I shared one now on my Twitter of somebody who's speaking about his sister from Pakistan. Here we go. It's a family friend of ours, a British-born and bred Pakistani, was in Ukraine a week ago. The authorities weren't letting him out of the country. So it was a male, sorry. The British embassy did nothing for him. It was the Pakistani embassy that arranged for his travel. We are never going to be British. And then he ends it with, don't talk to me about loyalty to this country. They don't care about us. That superiority complex of when they were ripping our ancestors apart still persists. Ultimately, Akhi, this phenomenon, combined with the Trojan horse affair, which inshallah we'll talk about at some point. I know that the Thinking Muslim podcast have just put a podcast out about it because they've obviously been listening to it, but definitely listen to the whole thing. It just blew my mind how deeply entrenched the Islamophobia is within the society. And this is from 2014. This is institutional stuff. So it just made me think, like, no matter where you are, no matter how hard you try, no matter how much you adapt, and it really does reflect that tradition of the Prophet ﷺ, who says that, was it Prophet ﷺ? But it was a tradition in our religion where it's speaking about, even into a lizard's hole you would follow them, in that regard. Like you will strip away everything just to be like them, just to seek their validation. But at the end of the day, no matter what you do, you're still the brown the brown boy from God knows where. And if you're not brown, you're still Ahmed or Amin, or do you know what I mean? You've still got that identity. And even if you strip it away completely, there's still going to be something about you that isn't just quite to their taste. So there's no winning. So I think that's ultimately the frustration, is that, hey, we need to wake up. Like, subhanallah, we're not. It's not long term for us, and we all know what the future holds in terms of, the Dajjal, the prophecies of the Prophet ﷺ, all of these kind of future prophecies that we're expecting. Is your long term plan to build up a society that inherently and institutionally despises you? Like, that's what the question I'm asking myself. When I'm here and funding this and being part of this entire operation, this entire machine. Am I really expecting to do that? Like, just a preview of the Trojan horse affair that had happened. This gentleman, this Muslim gentleman who was just so passionate about education, so passionate about turning schools around, took a school from like bottom of the bottom of rankings to the top of the top in his city of Birmingham, right to the top. Like, best people all over the country were trying to say, hey, how is he doing this? Like, we need to copy this. And bro, just for a fake letter, a fake Islamic phobic letter, a jealous letter inherently, one that wanted to unseat him because it was so jealous of what he was capable of doing, decimated his entire career, decimated everything he'd done, turned the whole narrative into him radicalizing schools.
Is that how it kicked it off, yeah?
Yes, that's essentially it. So
that's
it just,
insane.
these two things in the current kind of my current life climate just showed to me, no matter what you do, they will always hate you. They will always have something. They will always pick themselves over you. So why do you think, like, when I stand shoulder to shoulder with a colleague at work or with, someone who isn't Muslim or whatever, in a time of crisis, which we all face times of crisis, and this is a glimpse at one, what happens? What does happen?
Yeah, that's when
we're
you see
seeing
the
some
real
of that
values.
Now.
Because up until now, it's just been propaganda.
Absolutely.
Right? Even
Absolutely.
to the point of colonization days, going to certain countries to civilize them, right? There's always a justification for why we're going to treat them differently, right? But ultimately, bro, like, I've got a friend, he's very into history and he always corrects me on this stuff, but I've never heard of a society which is, a melting pot, right? Like such a big mixture of ethnicities, religions, people of different values or whatever, right? Living in harmony. That doesn't seem to be the case, except when you had like true Islamic rule over a place, right? Because what I've always read and stuff is like in Al-Andalus, for example, some of the people that were thriving and contributing the most were like Jews. Okay, but that's under the beauty and the absolute, not absolute, but the justice of the Sharia and stuff, right? And obviously that needs to be applied at a, how do you say it, like a top level and from like day-to-day just interactions level for that to happen. But what I'm trying to say is, like, you tell me, these types of people that have different values, they look different, and then another one who are very different as well, are they going to live together in harmony generally? I don't know. I don't think there are many examples of that in history.
There's the purity, and we will never say that any other model apart from Islam, is the best, right? Islam is the top tier, the pure, the perfect model of ruling and engaging in civilizations. Okay, and when you say that, when I look at this situation, this reporting, this bias, this hypocrisy, this double standards, it reminds me absolutely of the fall of Islamic Spain. When I'm reading that book, Akhi, it showed me. It gave a short preview of, okay, this is what Islamic Spain was like. This is what people said about it. Yes, there were detractors that weren't fans, and they were from outside generally, saying, "Oh, look, they've destroyed our churches, or they've sacrilegious. We've got mosques everywhere, and this used to be Christian, whatever." But then there's people that aren't Muslim in those being quoted, saying this is incredible. Like this is like the Jews were loving it, the Christians were loving it, the purity of it all. And then the fall of Islamic Spain was like they made an agreement. The Muslims made an agreement with the Christians. Listen, treat us like we treated you. Look, we looked after your people. And the Christians agreed, essentially. And I'm obviously paraphrasing, but from what I've read, the Christians were like, yeah, of course. You got freedom to whatever. Like, we'll treat you just the same way. Just give us the keys. We gave them the keys, just like we're doing now, where we're giving them the support and we're saying, okay, you can rule us now. It's your turn, whatever it is. And bro, just slowly and slowly, the decimation of Muslims began in terms of...
Next thing you know, they're searching for who's circumcised and who's not, so we can...
Next thing you know, the Moriscos, because they were actually labeled,
yes,
right? The Moriscos would have their doors. They weren't allowed to have their doors. They had to always have their doors open, so their front doors, so they could sell. They were hiding underground just to learn Quran. Like, and actually, that report that came out yesterday that I shared it, which I haven't touched, but I'm sure there's a summary and key points that are raised in the reports. Detail unprecedented crackdown on Islam and Muslims in France, which fits the description of persecution under international law. The report outlines the methods of this persecution in French society, yada, yada, yada. It's all there to see. Yeah, like France is so heavily anti, because it was such a vicious colonizer of Muslim lands, compared to maybe the UK, which was a bit more broad in its colonization. But France definitely had a vicious grip, and they've clearly identified, and the world identifies, that Islam is an unrelenting force. It just refuses to change. It refuses to adapt. Really, partly because we are the last Abrahamic faith, in the sense that the others have had more time to become corrupted and change and stuff. It's not that we're not seeing changes in some sects of Islam. We're definitely seeing people trying to change things and water down things, but generally speaking, the core is very much firmly held in that Allah is supreme and the Tawheed, right? But I don't know, and I can't guarantee that the UK might not become like that tomorrow. Can't guarantee that.
Like France,
it's cool now. Yeah, or more.
But even
I
was thinking, like African Americans, not even the Muslim ones, right? The non-Muslim ones. Like, look at them, bro. Like, just a few decades ago, they were like second-class citizens, right? And even in some cases now they are, right? And if you look at it, right, now you start seeing like more black people in America with higher positions, more like treated just like normal and this and that. But ultimately, the only way that you can reach that level or get treated in that way, okay, you can't change your skin, right? But you need to adopt their language, their values, their this and that. So, for example, if you're like you're a black man in America, but you're still very family oriented, you're still very Christian or whatever, you're still you basically keep those values. That's not enough, right? So if you adopt everything, right, of the dominant culture or whatever, if you adopt everything, then they might forgive the fact that you have different color skin.
Absolutely.
Right? Only then. They might. But even then, when things get squeezed, then I don't know.
Absolutely.
We'll see.
No, exactly, bro. And that happened, bro. Like, okay, when black African Americans obviously would celebrate all the rights that they've gained, in recent years, of course. But look at all the tragedies that have happened. Look at the George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement that came out of that. Soon as that cropped its head up, so to speak, in the status quo, then we had this divide just launching itself once again, where we had riots, where we had fights, where we had absolute chaos because they could not accept. And when I say they, I'm talking about, the traditional racist white America could not accept that this was happening again. That they do you understand? Like, it was all negative to them. So it just shows you, when there's tension, when there's crisis, you can't rely on your neighbor. You can't. And I'm not saying this problem doesn't exist in the Muslim world. The Muslim world has been deeply, deeply affected by nationalism. Absolutely. We could say, for you, an example for you, Akhi, and correct me if you feel differently, but you're an Algerian male living in Turkey, and you might not be able to, if a crisis came, you might feel like, are they going to treat me like a Muslim brother, or are they going to treat themselves as Turkish and me as Algerian? You know what I mean? Like, you're not 100% sure.
Yeah, exactly.
And even myself, like, if I was in Tunisia, bro, they might look at me as, well, you're really, really Muslimic. so you might have it. If something happens, we might point the finger at you. Do you know? So there is that. However, I would rather place my bets, so to speak, amongst Muslims, no matter what level they are, no matter what nationality, than I would with these guys over here. Where Boris Johnson's calling my people that dress like my wife letterboxes, and God knows whatever else is under the radar, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, man, absolutely.
Yeah. What's on their tongues is big, but what's in their chest is bigger.
Well, this is it. It's all slipping out now. They all these people that were like daytime news, all these people that are the friendly faces of TV. One of the guys, I can't even remember his name. I don't know what his job is, but he's a very popular presenter on British TV, and he said something. I've got the video, but I'm not going to play it. He goes something like, "Oh, I can't believe the Russians have launched this particular bomb on the Ukrainians." Well, actually, to be fair, the US did launch the same bomb in Afghanistan, but just the thought of it happening in Europe is stomach churning. And I was just like, you've got to be joking. Bro, it's literally relentless. Everyone that talks about this can't help themselves, but it all comes out of their mouth, subhanAllah. And I'm just like, that's it, bro. There is no good in this side of the world. Like, it's not happening, man.
But this, it's good. It's interesting you say that, this kind of, it triggered something in you, right? And like obviously I'm sure I get these as well, but it's like Allah sends us signs for different things, whether it's a reminder of death or a reminder of your mortality, how weak you are, how humble you should be to Allah because of how weak you realize you are. Like, I don't know if you had this moment where, like, I was driving once to Dubai and I fell asleep driving, and I started scraping the side of the road, and the car behind me beeped and woke me up. And after that, I slowly like drove and parked the car and stopped. I was like, damn, I just nearly died. Yeah. That these different moments, like, which should humble us, right? And so this, again, it's like whatever different moments you get, like I just got one as well, because in Turkey they made an announcement that basically the whole immigration system is going to change a little bit, and it made me, like, for a few days until I got clarity, I was thinking like, oh, okay, so it's not so much a long-term place, right? Just because of one, like, rule change or whatever. Turns out it seems okay, but the point is that was a trigger moment, right? And Absolutely. You're saying this is a trigger moment, like, and Allah's given us trigger moments for all different aspects of our life. And it's like, though, like, will we take heed kind of thing,
And as a parent and as somebody with responsibility, it's something you have to really deeply consider. Now, some people that don't have kids, but they have a mature mindset, might make those decisions early on before they actually then, adopt a responsibility.
Yeah.
But definitely, bro, like, and I know I won't hide it, bro. I have proactive plans to not be here forever. And I always have had that in my mind. And I think for me, it's like, everything's pointing in this direction. I won't hide the fact that I prayed my istikhara. I won't hide the fact that I just pick a path and go on that path and see how it goes, because that's what we do with istikhara. But bro, I can't shake this feeling where it's like, I don't think this is it. Like, I can't see it long term. And even if I was to, let's bring up 4K weeks again. Even if I say I live to 88 years old, right? Then my kids, what about my kids?
Then you need to get a 4K weeks for your kids.
well, this is it. But do I want their 4K weeks to be in the UK where they're going to be hated? And do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, you know, my son is called Suleiman. My other son is called Ilyas. Do you understand? Like, these are very clear Muslim names, even in the way they're said, even the way they're spelt. So they're always going to be, you know, they might not look as foreign as I look, right? But they're always going to have something. Like their mother picks them up from school in niqab. I pick them up from school in my beard. Like, these are very clear signals and identifiers. When they speak about, when my son sees even Islamic shows, bro, even like those Islamic cartoons, and they start doing something that's a bit like questionable, like celebrating a birthday on the show, or they're bringing out flutes and instruments. He's like, Dad, turn it off. Dad, they're doing this. Like, he was shouting at me. I remember once it was like some show came up with Halloween, and he's like, Dad, change it. It's Halloween.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's already been conditioned that stuff isn't cool in our house.
That would
right?
be a trigger point for prevent kind of thing, yeah.
Oh, bro, tell me about it. And this whole prevent thing came from this Trojan horse stuff. That's where it kind of started. So, like, bro, like, ultimately, yeah, you know, I know we talk about it a lot. Alhamdulillah, you've made a jump. I know a lot of people that listen to Mind Heist absolutely love that topic because they all must be thinking the same thing. They definitely do. We've always got emails, questions, do more about hijrah, do more about this, do more of that. And, you know, it's just, I know that the enthusiasm is there from a lot of Muslims. I know there's opportunities in the Gulf. I know there's opportunities in Africa. I know there's opportunities in Muslim world all over the place. I just think that if you're not even thinking about hijrah, I think you should at least reconsider your long-term position in the West, in the United Kingdom, in America. Like, this little enclave of Islam that you have, it can be decimated in a moment. You know, it really can be. And that's not saying that, you know, it's easier elsewhere, but you can see the amount of decimation it can have can really deeply affect your lineage. It can literally strip away Islam from your children and your children's children until they're literally, you know,
until they're Boris Johnson, Mr. Turkish.
Oh, there you go. What an example, subhanAllah. What example, yeah. Oh my goodness. So, yeah.
You know, I was talking to someone who lived in France, and I was like, you know, like, what's the average like Muslim like in France? You know, he was telling me like how they are. He's like, you know, you see them in the office, you say salam alaikum, they reply bonjour. Yeah. He's like, you know, you get, you know, a lot of them are, you know, a little bit lost or whatever, but he said it's kind of 50-50. Yeah. He's like, you know, these types, the types that are more like in the hood, you know, they might be into this music and that and making money from this and that way. Yeah. But he said those people, because they live in those areas, they've got a very clear them and us, right?
Yeah,
because in France, if you're Muslim and you're in one of those areas, you're pretty much surrounded by just Muslims. Like, you pretty much live in just a Muslim area, which is much less often in the UK, for example, right? So those people feel very much like, yeah, we're Muslims in our like little area, and the outside world is like the enemy kind of world. Like, the French government almost created a them and us, right, for them, and that preserved their identity. But obviously the hood kind of has you know, other problems, of course, with it as well. But in the UK, it's very much more like you know, you grow up feeling like, yeah, multiculturalism. In France, it's a bit more like, you know, them and us.
Yeah, I think the multicultural dream is slowly fading away. I think the emphasis on that kind of waned, especially in the early 2000s. I think it was something that was kind of started maybe in the 80s, and you had a good 20 years or so of this emphasis on multiculturalism, etc. I'm just, you know, that's just a bit of an assumption there, but based on what I've seen. And you've had, you know, we've had obviously Muslim communities in the UK for years and years and years, you know, especially like the Pakistani community who set roots here, who came to this country, who started the first initial projects for Muslims, masajid. You know, you find a lot of the oldest masajid in the UK have been, you know, started from years and years and years ago. And it's not to detract from the efforts that are done to facilitate that. Of course not. You know, the Muslim communities and the activity that's going on in the UK, especially like London and Birmingham, etc., phenomenal activity, phenomenal. But what I'm saying is, like, overnight that can change. Like, look how many mosques just got shut down in France, just like that. You know, that's in that report. And we remember seeing like how imams would get sacked and mosques would get shut down just for reciting something from the Quran or something in the khutbah that is from the deen. You know, so it's like the censorship is insane. And once again, you know, I always caveat this by saying it doesn't mean that this is exclusive to the West. This exists in the Muslim world as well. If it's not their particular flavor of state-sanctioned Islam, then you might have a problem. But once again, I have more hope long-term in the Muslim country, that might be, swaying a little bit here and there in these current times. But I have more hope that in 100 years' time, it's still going to be a Muslim country. There's still going to be the adhan there than I do in the UK, bro. Unless by some miracle, we suddenly have majority Muslims in the UK or whatever, bro. Before that happens, there's going to be alarms ringing. There's going to be, internal politics like we're seeing in America, where it's like left versus right. It's going to be religion versus, and it's just it's crazy, bro. It's absolutely crazy. We will have to have that into our consideration, I think.
Yeah, and this is why, some Muslims have this dream of the Muslim village, living in a rural place with just, religious Muslims. So then you don't have the issue. Not exactly. I mean, maybe, I don't know, but I'm talking about, specific flavor of people. Yeah, it's like you won't have the issue of, like you were saying, maybe in Tunisia, there's, okay, you're religious though, you're a bit weird. Or like, you're not Turkish, you're a bit weird. Like they want, like, it's like we're all like very religious, and so we're all like aligned based on everyone's Muslim, and we're all following the same flavor of Islam as well. But again, that's a bit of a utopia, which does exist in some places, but it's limited, and so we take whatever's like realistic and stuff.
I think that you just have to be prepared, don't you, to actually weigh up what's worth sacrificing, because a lot of the things when we talk about hijr, we talk about all sorts. We're like, there's a lot of dunya in the West, there's a lot of dunya in the UK. There's a lot of things that I know if I was to leave this country, I would have to live without, and it's a test of my own faith. What means more to me? What means more to me? The actual the value, the deen, the closeness to the deen, the accessibility of the Quran, these kind of things, right? The ability that everybody in my area is going to be on Ramadan, not just a few people that I know on Twitter or whatever, or my WhatsApp group, right? The ability to have that kind of neighborly salam alaikum wa alaikum salam to everybody you meet, and it's not going to be a strange thing. But you will have to sacrifice some things, and that's the only thing that I know in my heart that often stops me. That often, like, it makes me hesitate. It's like, I won't be able to just put such and such on and do such and such and go to such and such place really easily, whatever. I know that all those things, akhi, when I put them out on paper, they're all dunya. They're all materialistic, shallow, dunyawi things. There's hardly anything that really goes on the deen aspect. So it's like weighing that up. You have to challenge yourself, and we all know that if you can make your intention first and foremost for the sake of Allah, then Allah always replaces that which you give up for His sake with that which is better, right? So I
guess family could be another barrier.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Of course. For having family in particular plays. I think for me, I don't necessarily have that problem too much, but I know for others, definitely. Leaving family behind, especially women folk who are leaving their side of the family to follow their husbands, etc. Very, very challenging. But ultimately, the sacrifice, we like to say, if it is a sacrifice, if you consider it a sacrifice, it's to make that step for your kids, for their future, for when the inevitable does come. What side of the fence are they on? And when I say inevitable, I'm just talking in general about the prophecy of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We know what the end times look like. We know that. We know that if a crisis was to hit, where would I like to be? Who do I want my neighbors to be? Where do I want to be surrounded? And that's the kind of it. So, subhanAllah, I feel for the individuals that were in Ukraine, really and truly the ones that weren't Ukrainian, the ones that were there on the student visas.
Bro, I know one Ammo. He's like my dad's friend. His son was actually killed.
SubhanAllah.
He was killed in Ukraine. He was a student there. Allah yarhamu. Yeah.
It's obviously any innocence, and we'll make that a caveat, but whatever, any innocence getting killed is going to be horrifying. But it's just worse seeing that racism there when people are trying to escape, and you're literally picking out people that are black, picking out people that are foreign, picking out people that don't belong, quote unquote, in that crisis. Instead of treating them as a guest, as we would like to think in our tradition, we think you're a guest in my country, get on the train, let's go. Whatever, if you all have to queue up, whoever's first gets on. No. We're selecting the people that are not us. And no, you go to the back. You go to
the clean ones, bro.
Yeah,
The superior ones, bro.
the civilized ones,
The
bro. Can get on.
civilized ones, bro.
Man, so it's upsetting, subhanallah, and that just makes me think like we are so desperate for the validation of those that don't care about us in the
But don't you
slightest.
think as well, bro, this shock, this reaction to the double standards, is that not a cry for validation?
I think for me, at least, when I'm sharing it, it's to announce this message that I'm saying now,
Yeah,
which is, hey,
that they don't really
stop.
care about it.
Yeah, they don't care about us, as Michael Jackson once said,
Yeah.
and maybe Tupac as well. But they don't. They don't. And you know, that's it. So like, stop trying. What is what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
My message is, look, go. You know, all these multicultural meetings and all these interfaith dialogues and all these, you know, race relations stuff. Look, at the end of the day, my belief now is like all this work, this 100 years of work that we've been trying to do, in a moment of crisis, it all goes out the window, right? So if they don't care about us, then look after yourself. And if you can look after yourself, then look after your people. Go to where they belong, because clearly everyone else would do the same for themselves.
So you believe in the, what's it called? The Clash of Civilisations theory, yeah?
I think civilizations have clashed for hundreds of years, thousands of years. And for us to then suddenly say, oh, civilization is going to clash in the future. No, maybe we're just living in an abnormality where nuclear weapons have suddenly civilized everybody, so they're not pointing guns at each other anymore. When actually, no. Clearly, today's example of what's going on in Russia is not the case anymore, because that hasn't stopped Putin. So what does it mean? Is it going to stop anyone else now? Actually, he's just opened the floodgates for what we used to do, which was going into countries, taking over, you know? So if he can do it and no one's going to push the big red button because they're too scared to start a nuclear war, then everyone else is going to test the waters.
And that's why it's pure propaganda, this whole thing that, you know, I mean, yes, we have lived in the most peaceful time for a while, but the idea that it's all a civilized world now, it's all modern, and it's like, is a joke. Because when was the gap where like the wars kind of stopped? Like,
never did.
I'm not seeing a gap. I don't know. Like maybe there was, maybe no, even I was going to say like 2000 to 2020, but no, because 2003 was Iraq, 2001 was Afghanistan.
Absolutely.
Right.
This is a blip, bro. Even if it was true, let's hypothetically just swallow the propaganda that this is peace times. It's a blip in history. I'm sure. You know,
50
10
years
years,
is a
100
joke.
years
Yeah.
is a blip in history, bro. It's nothing. You know, I was watching last night, me and my wife, even though I was terrifying her by doing this, we were watching videos of nuclear bombs being dropped. We watched Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 1945. How long ago was that? My wife asked me, why would they do that? So why would they do that? They dropped nuclear bombs on top of innocent people and just blew them to bits, vaporized them, Akhi.
Yeah.
That was what, 1945. That's not that long ago. So anyone who tries to tell you,
because at that time, from their perspective, that was worthy collateral damage, because
so worthy they did it twice.
They're different. They look different, speak different language, different religion. That's why. And that's the Clash of Civilisations. I'm just looking up the summary of, because Clash of Civilisations was an article written by Samuel Huntington, and it's basically the idea is that it's a theory that people's cultural and religious identities will be the primary source of conflict in the post-Cold War world. And
it's definitely the conflict in the discourse, not maybe in the physical stuff right now, but definitely in the discourse. Everybody's debating. We just watched one yesterday. You know what I mean? Like and it's not just, we're not talking about just Islam and everyone else. We're talking about even amongst each other. We're talking about, you know, LGBT versus whatever traditional values, whatever values, you know, is on the other end of that spectrum. We're talking about left and right. We're talking about communist capitalists. We're talking about socialists, whatever. Everyone's fighting each other.
Yeah. And let me show you something as well. Now, I've never shared my screen, have I? Let me share my screen. Okay.
Wow. Oh, is that the thesis map?
So this map is the Samuel Huntington's theory, like different groupings of civilizations, right?
Okay.
So he's got the Western civilization, which is basically Western Europe and North America, like Canada, US, right? It's funny, and then he's got the Orthodox, right, Christian Orthodox, and it's funny, like that line is exactly like where this war is being fought now, right? Because Ukraine, Belarus, that is the line, right? And it's also the border with NATO, right? The NATO countries. Then you've got Islamic civilization, which is like the northern half of Africa, and then like the Arab world, Turkey, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and then like Indonesia. So obviously that's that. Buddhist. Okay, so he's got Tibet, and then Vietnam, Cambodia, these countries, and Mongolia as well. These are Buddhist. I wonder if, because this was 1996, so I wonder if he would change his mind on that, or if Buddhism is that much of a driving force these days. I don't know. And then he's got Hindu, which is India, Nepal, etc. Africa. So he put African as its own civilization, like Southern Africa.
Right.
So interesting. Then Latin America is its own thing. So Mexico and then the whole of South America. Then Cynic or Sinic or whatever, which is China and North South Korea. Oh no, that's Vietnam. Vietnam's part of that apparently.
Yep.
And then he's got Japanese as their own thing. Wow, that's how isolated they are. They're like, look, we're an island. We're doing our own thing, our own civilization.
Yeah.
So this is his idea. Yeah, interesting.
It doesn't, what's the word? I think, especially with the Muslim world there, I think, like, especially looking at North Africa, for example, I think they've developed a lot of ties with the rest of Africa. And I think at a moment's notice, they would see eye to eye, if you know what I mean, in a lot of ways.
Wait, who?
So I'm talking about, so obviously we've got the green, half of Africa's green, half of it is khaki.
Yes.
Southern, maybe apart from South Africa, I think they'd see eye to eye with a lot of the Muslims if in a time of crisis.
Maybe,
because there's a lot of bonds there, continental bonds that have been shaped through time. And
the way he's done it, he's drawn the lines according to religion. So, for example, if you look at Nigeria, half of it is in the Islamic world and half of it is Africa.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, and north of Nigeria is the Muslim side, right? So it looks like he's done it that way.
And that's the core of people's cultures are their belief systems. It's what they believe in, right? And obviously this, if you look at the green, which is going to be kind of like the Muslim side of things, they are really mimicking the empires of Islam that we had in the past. And that's where the most recent influence has been, and you can't argue with you've got half of Europe there, or most of it. You've got North America and you've got Australia and New Zealand. Yes, you can't argue that they're of course all aligned.
Yeah.
So the only people that would additionally be aligned with them are those who want to pick a side. If Japan picked a side with Europe, then I wouldn't question it. If certain African countries decided to pick a side, I wouldn't question it.
Yeah. But you know what? This map shows you as well. If you look at Europe, there's a tiny green dot, which must be like Bosnia or something. So don't be that country, Then you've got over here, you've got Bangladesh, right? Surrounded by Hindu and Buddhists, kind of thing. Like, don't be that country.
Pressure. But look, at the end of the day, we're going to wrap up now. But at the end of the day, like, these are just things that you have to keep in mind. The future of your lineage, the future of your generations, maybe even the future of your own life. 88 years on average is a long time. And it just shows you the world can really change in a week. It really does. It doesn't take long for things to flip on their head. COVID came so quickly, and it just changed the world. This discourse has come quite quickly, and it's changing a lot of the discourse in the world, and also physically changing things and shaping things. And all it needs is, even going back to the Trojan horse thing, it takes one fake letter, and suddenly within a year or two, you've changed the whole education
public
system.
Enemy number one. Yeah,
absolutely. So be prepared.
Help me out with this, bro.
Go on.
You see this map? So right now, the war in Ukraine, it's on the border, if you like, right? Ukraine's on the border between the Orthodox world and the Western world, right? Then you've got obviously the constant kind of tension and conflict between India and Pakistan, right? That's on the border between Islamic and Hindu. What other conflicts do we have? Like, I know
you're going to have Philistine and Israel.
Yeah,
definitely. So you're going to have a little slither there.
The quote-unquote Israel is like just too tiny to even show on the map.
I'm sure that's going to be
not their own civilization, right? In it, so
Is it going to be a dark blue? I can't see too clearly, but I'm assuming Israel will be dark blue.
Like part of the Western thing, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of are most of these conflicts on these lines between the civilizations? It's a bit difficult to say that because, for example, like Iraq, for example, or even Yemen, right? They're not exactly on the border between these civilizations because sometimes you get like US coming from so far away with the aircraft carriers and everything.
Yeah. It depends where the allies are drawn and who seeks their vested interests. But like, let's just say there was no one to benefit anyone else. Let's say nobody had any power left to benefit anyone else, and it was all me. Where would the allegiances kind of lie? And when I say allegiances, I mean shared goals. You know, they're shared objectives, and that's it really. But yeah, but I'm just conscious of time because I've got to go and pray. I think it's been a positively diverse episode, I think. Guys, just to reiterate, check out 4kweeks.com if you want to purchase one of these posters or other items that they've got available. We've got links in the bio, and use code MINDHEIST, that's one word, MINDHEIST, for 5% off. Obviously, you support the podcast by doing so. We get a bit of a kickback. We've also got referral links at the bottom. Please check that out. If you are interested, Amin, where can they find us and follow us?
Go to mindhouspodcast.com, and there you'll find the YouTube channel if you're only on audio, and you'll find the Instagram, and you'll find the TikTok, and you no, I don't know about that. Yeah, and you'll find the PayPal if you want to help out as well. And you can email us, contact us anonymously or otherwise over there as well. I know we had a nice email that I wanted to go through as well, but I guess we'll do that next time. And yeah, this has been 152. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, shadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum.
This episode is now over. Get back to your life.